Hey guys, Matt here. Today I'm going to be doing an oil change on my Kawasaki Ninja 250R. So what you're going to need is like an oil pan or something to drip the oil into. I just got a $2 crate. Some oil to replace the old oil with. A filter if your bike has an oil filter. Some bikes don't. They have like strainers or something, but my bike has an oil filter. Make sure it's the right part number as well. A rag, must get a rag to wipe up all the oil that falls out. Also get some sockets and a wrench, and I would also recommend getting some gloves, some disposable gloves or something like that. And also to top up the oil, you'll need one of these funnels just to guide the oil in the right direction, make sure it doesn't all spill out from the engine. So at the moment I don't have a stand for the rear of the bike to make it stand upright, but what I'm going to do is just empty it out like this, empty out the oil like this, and then I will lean the bike up, just make sure it all comes out. In the back here I've got a stand, but I ordered the wrong one. I ordered the front one instead of the rear one, so I'm going to return that and get a rear one instead. What I'm going to do first is warm up the bike, make sure the oil flows through the engine and kind of flushes out all the stuff that's in there. Also, while the oil's hot, it becomes more able to flow out, so we'll just get the bike started now. I think that's good enough. Now what I'm going to do is take out the oil. Alright, so when you look under the bike, there's two bolts you need to focus on. There's this one right here and this one right here, which takes out the oil filter, and oil comes out of both of those holes, so you got to make sure you have a oil pan big enough to cover those two areas. So I've got mine underneath here. And make sure you get your gloves on because you don't want to get the oil all over yourself. And we'll get started. There you go. Finally. A longer torque wrench always does it. Much easier. And that's why you need gloves. So we'll just wait for that to drain and then we'll do the next one. So we'll just wait till this whole thing stops dripping. Make sure that all the oil is getting out of the engine. We don't want any old oil circulating around with the new oil. And once this stops, we're going to leave it for a little bit and then we're going to go to the next bolt, which is right here for the oil filter. I think while we wait for this to finish dripping, we'll just start with the next bolt. Remove the oil filter, the old oil filter, and we'll replace it with the new one. Okay, now it's starting to drip. There it is. There's the old oil filter. Make sure you clean up any oil that spills onto the ground because you don't want to be running over it with your tires. Alright, so here's the old oil filter, the whole contraption sort of thing. So what you've got to do first is take off the top, and with enough force this filter will come off. There we go, that's much easier. Hold this bottom bolt and or bottom head of the bolt and it will come right off. So place that to the side. Also you have this washer which goes underneath. Place that there, and you have the spring. So what we got to do now is take the bolt out of this arrangement here, and we're going to be replacing this O-ring here, and there's also an O-ring underneath here to seal the oil from coming out of the bottom. So there's the O-ring right here. So you'll need something to pick it out of. you'll need to get some sort of, I don't know what I'm going to use, maybe like a skewer or something. Doesn't matter about it, you're replacing it anyway, so you can wreck it if you want. And here's the new oil filter. I'm going to take this out. Ooh. So it's a K&N one, so it's a good brand, good reliable brand. Also got new seals with it. Make sure yours comes with new seals before you rip out the old ones. Out of all things, I chose a fork. There it is. Okay, so that's the old O-ring. That's good. That was much easier. Give it a wipe. And now we're just going to replace the seals and put it all back together. So when replacing it, you might want to put a bit of oil on the seal to make sure it definitely goes in there. So I've got some oil here, just random oil that I found in the shed. 10W30, doesn't really matter what it is. Oh, that's a bit too much. Ah, crap. Slippery, because it's got oil on it. And now we're going to replace the O-ring for this bolt here. And in it is, so that was easy. Now we're going to reconstruct this, whatever it is, I don't know what to call it, and we'll put it back in the engine. Alright, that's done. Now we're going to put it back in the engine, but before we do that, we're going to make the bike upright and make sure all the oil is dripped out. So I'm holding the bike upright, and there was more oil that was coming out of the engine. Still dripping, so I'm going to hold it like this for a little while. Alright, now it's stopped dripping. I'm just going to wipe up the bottom. There it is, just a little bit of drip. Wipe it up. And now we're going to cover the hole back up with the bolt again. I'll just put that in lightly first, and then we're also going to do the oil filter. So there it is, if you can see it. Make sure you put the cap back on, just like it was before. And I'm going to take this out from underneath, actually, so I can get it in there. Oops. So the oil I've chosen to use with the bike is the 10W40 Shell Helix oil. I'm pretty sure it is semi-synthetic, not fully synthetic, but that's fine. So now we're going to put it in the bike. I'm pretty sure it takes around 1.7 litres according to the manual. So yeah, I'll pour it in and see if it's too much or too less. So here's the cap for filling up the engine oil. We're just going to leave this loose just so we can easily undo it when we need to. I'm going to measure out around about 1.7 litres of oil. Alright, that's about 1 litre. Now I'm going to top up the second bit. So that should all be in there now. And we're just going to wait like half an hour or so for it to all soak in, and then we can have a look at the window, which is right here, and see the oil level. Alright, the oil change is now done, and I checked the window and it should be like around halfway through the window, or there's these two indicators here. There's a low one and a high one, and that indicates your oil level pretty much. So what I'm going to do now is turn on the bike and we're going to see how she sounds. So So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in my next video.